where 247 Sports has released its latest rankings for the high school class of 2026. We've got a new #1 player at the top of the rankings and 5-star quarterback in Houston commit Keisean Henderson, the 6'3" signal caller out of Spring, Texas, leaps Tennessee commit Faizon Brandon for the top spot in the class. You can check out the full rankings at 247sports.com. And here it is, though. Here's your updated top 247 sports for the class of 2026. You got Keisean Henderson holding strong at that #1 spot, followed by a trio of elite quarterbacks in Faizon Brandon, Jared Curtis, and Lamar Brown. Big movers in the trenches, too. Keisean Pepe from IMG and Carter Meadows out of Gonzaga rise as well. Keep an eye on this group. These are names shaping the next wave of college football. All right, let's go ahead and welcome in 247 Sports Director of Scouting, Andrew Ivins, and 247 Sports National Recruiting Analyst, Tom Lloyd. Guys, good to see you, or I think I'll see you here pretty soon. Let's go ahead and start with, why did Henderson move ahead of Brandon to become the top spot in prospect in this year's high school class?
Well, Katie, he just kind of turned into our guy. And, you know, when we first initially ranked Keisean Henderson 3 years ago, we had him as a wide receiver. Never before have we had a top-ranked wide receiver finish as a top-ranked quarterback, let alone the #1 player in the country. But the more we've learned about Keisean Henderson, the more we've seen from Keisean Henderson, we think the sky is the limit with him. He's an electric dual-threat talent, but he wants to win with his arm in the pocket. He's at Legacy School of the Sports and Sciences. They play an independent schedule there in Texas, but he had some marquee matchups this fall as a senior. He went down into New Orleans and took on St. Augustine. He faced Memorial Arthur there in Texas. Teams that are full of talent. And Keisean Henderson, he was excellent. He improved his completion percentage. He was 58% as a junior, finished over 71% as a senior. You know, his TD to INT ratio from his 11th grade season, you know, it was 23 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. As a senior, it was 45 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and he played the same amount of games. So I think stylistically, this guy reminds us a lot of a Jaden Daniels. He reminds us a lot of a Lamar Jackson. He can flip the field with his arm, and when he decides to run, he's going to produce some explosive plays.
Yeah, just to echo what Andrew said, I mean, this is one of the most incredibly talented, incredible human beings I've ever done. I've done this a long time. Keisean Henderson is in a world of his own. He's a guy you gravitate towards. He is going to be the face of Houston Cougars football for years to come. I used to tell him all the time, hey, you're an elite receiver. You're an elite safety. If you tighten things up athletically in terms of the polish of playing the quarterback position, there's a shot you're going to be a 5-star. And then Andrew Ivins fires me up when he names him the #1 overall player in the country. I mean, Keisean Henderson, I'm telling you, the more you get around this kid, he is special in every sense of the word. Fired up to see him be ranked #1 overall.
Well, the high praise there. You're saying he's in a world of his own. You're comparing his talent to the likes of Lamar Jackson and Jaden Daniels, but an even greater human being, which is lovely. But, Tom, I have to ask you, how surprising is it to see the #1 player in the country committed to Houston?
I'm really not too surprised because this kid is from the area. He is all about his home state, his home city of Houston. Like, he takes so much pride in his hometown and being a Cougar. So, yes, there was some chatter at some points. LSU wanted to make a run at him. Florida State, he talked about taking a visit to Tallahassee. But in the end, it was going to take so much to get this kid to flip. I mean, he just has so much pride. And when he made his decision to play for Willie Fritz, he wanted to stick with that decision. Again, he has been all in with Houston for such a long time.
And just to echo here, I think Keisean Henderson signing with Houston in the Big 12 represents where college football is right now. I mean, we talk about the 12-team playoff. We're seeing all these new schools, the non-traditional blue bloods, get involved in. You know, the name, image, and likeness, the rev share, it has leveled the playing field. And in a program like Houston, which, let's not forget, you know, played for a national title in basketball last year, they can get competitive. They can go after the hometown hero and talk him into staying. The other other thing is Willie Fritz and that staff at Houston, it's not just Keisean Henderson, all right? They got 4 other prospects inside our top 247. He did wonders at Tulane in terms of building out that roster. He's doing it now at Houston. And, I think we're only going to see more of these high-profile quarterbacks look for the right fit, right? Because the money's going to be right everywhere. Where can I go? Where can I play? Where can I be around people that believe in me? And with Houston, Willie Fritz and his staff, they saw Keisean Henderson as a quarterback from the jump.
Huge commit there for Houston. And as you said, mostly a school that we see as a basketball school, but really great for the football program as well. As the new rankings have 3 quarterbacks in the top 3 overall. You got Henderson, Brandon, and Georgia commit Jared Curtis. How special could this quarterback class be? We'll start with you, Andrew.
I mean, it's only happened a few times previously in 247 Sports history have we had 3 arms at the top. 3 years ago, it was Arch Manning, Nico Imalieva, and Dante Moore. I think, viewers, listeners are going to have mixed opinions, but here's the reality. All those guys have had their respective teams in the college football playoff conversation. I think when we look at Keisean Henderson, when we look at Faizon Brandon, when we look at Jared Curtis, these are the guys that are going to be the face of the sport. Faizon Brandon, he has long been the #1 player in the country. He got hurt early on in his senior season. We thought he was going to shut things down and just, save himself for Tennessee. Well, last week he returns in the state playoffs, and it was easy to remember why we love Faizon Brandon so much. He's one of the youngest quarterbacks in this class. There's a chance that he's going to win back-to-back state championships. He could exit high school with a 36-1 record. I think for Josh Heupel and the Volunteers, he's a perfect fit for that offense. Reminds me of Hendon Hooker. He's just got a little different gear after him. Jared Curtis, saw him committed to Georgia. This is the guy in the class that is ready to play. It's interesting because Georgia's got Gunnar Stockton, but he's thrown over 1,000 career passes. He's a big body quarterback, and he's a power runner. So these are the names to know moving forward. There's certainly going to be more, but we feel really good about these individuals as we kind of close the chapter on this class.
Andrew nailed it. Jared Curtis is the most ready to play of the 3 right now. The Nashville native. This is why Vanderbilt is making such a strong push to flip him down the stretch here. And they got to button up the situation with head coach Clark Lee, get that extension done, and then go all in with Jared over the next couple of days. But QB1 is open in Nashville for Vanderbilt. Diego Pavia is on the way out. Jared Curtis wants to play right away. He knows that if it was back and forth and it was Georgia was open, Vandy was open, no question he would go to Georgia. Everybody wants to be a Bulldog. But QB1 is open, and that's what gives Vanderbilt the leg up when it comes to Jared Curtis. But big picture, we're truly splitting hairs with this top 3. Keisean Henderson is the freak athlete. Faizon Brandon may be the most complete that can run and throw the ball. Jared Curtis, I don't think there's a better true thrower of the football in all of high school football. Special group at the top with these 3.
Excited to see how this all works out for the 3 of them at the next level. But fellas, we got to talk about LSU, right? Still without a head coach, but holding at number 11. Tom, what's the pulse of this class? And is it more likely that they hold it together or fall apart with the coaching search still underway?
Look, I'm going to be completely honest. When Brian Kelly got fired, there wasn't a bunch of guys that were freaking out, talking about leaving. The fact of the matter is you have an elite talent in 5-star defensive lineman, really a 2-way lineman in Lamar Brown. He, fresh off another visit to Baton Rouge, seems about as locked in as you could possibly be to a school with the fact that they don't have a head coach. Texas A&M is lurking, Miami's lurking, but everybody I talk to says that this kid picked LSU for so many reasons, a variety of reasons on and off the field. He seems all in with LSU. One I'm watching, top 247 edge rusher, Trenton Henderson. He's looking at Florida. He's looking at Texas. The loss of Brian Kelly actually hurt the recruitment of Trenton Henderson. And you got Bryson Martinez, a top 247 offensive lineman. Bryson Cooley, another top 247 offensive lineman. These are guys that are looking around. They're taking trips. So, again, the top of the class feels really good at LSU. But there's a couple guys that are looking around that could this class could kind of fall apart a little bit down the stretch here.
Okay, so we'll keep an eye on that. But, Andrew, I have to ask you also about Florida, right? Because they're without a head coach as well, and they sit with just 7 players in the top 24/7. How likely is it that this class will stay together, and who should we be on flip watch?
Oh, I think the one guy you certainly need to know that could end up at another school, C.J. Brona, top 247 cornerback out of the Orlando area. This is a back-to-back state champ in the 100-meter dash. Toolsy cornerback, right? But he's going to be a longer burn. I look at the rest of the commits list, and I think a lot of these guys are going to end up in Gainesville regardless of who is the head coach. The other one that I think they have to hold on to is quarterback Will Griffin out of Tampa. He's actually set a lot of passing records that were held by a guy named Tim Tebow in the high school ranks here in the Sunshine State. So, look, who knows what's going to happen with DJ Lagway in that quarterback room. I mean, a new head coach could show up, and there could be a parting of the ways. Tramel Jones, the young freshman, we've seen a little bit of him, but I would make the case that, you know, if Tramel Jones is the future, why hasn't he already taken over for DJ Lagway, who has struggled this season? So Will Griffin's the quarterback commit. I think he brings some stability to the quarterback room. He's a kid that grew up a Gator, you know, power runner, kind of looks a little bit like Tim Tebow. So he's the one I think the Gators absolutely have to hold on to.
Well, fellas, you know the rumors, right? Both of these schools targeting Ole Miss head coach Lane Kiffin. So, Tom, what is the status of the Rebels 2026 class, and are these prospects waiting to see where Lane Kiffin lands next?
Absolutely. This is a lot like when James Franklin was fired by Penn State and we saw all the decommitments and everybody leaving. These guys are headed to Ole Miss to play for Lane Kiffin. So, yes, if he lands at LSU, if he lands at Florida, there's a lot of them that will follow. But this class, in my opinion, will completely fall apart if Lane Kiffin is not there. So we just moved up top 247 wide receiver Corey Barber. He made it very clear that he is fully committed to Ole Miss and he wants to be a Rebel if Lane Kiffin is there. Top 247 defensive lineman Dylan Berryman. He could end up at Ole Miss, but again, all of the rumors aren't helping. Another one, top 247 linebacker Danny Beal. He might be committed right now to LSU if there were no rumors running around. So again, if Lane Kiffin just kind of buttons everything up and says, look, I'm locked in, maybe even get an extension, it's greatly going to help the Rebels recruiting class. It's
going to be interesting to see where Lane Kiffin ends up. I know we got a lot of Gators in this studio that are hoping that he ends up with them. One last question here, Andrew. Virginia Tech, of course, introduced James Franklin today as their next head coach. What's the status of their current class, and who should we expect for new commits and maybe any flip-flops at Penn State?
Yeah, I mean, Virginia Tech, it's kind of been a lull here on the recruiting front as of late, ever since, you know, they parted ways and they had the head coach opening. They had no four-star prospects in the class. We did just name quarterback Cole Bergeron a four-star. He's out of Louisiana. We really like what he has done as a senior. According to Tom, you know, the Hokies and James Franklin have made contact, but there's a chance that Cole Bergeron could end up somewhere else. He's taken an official visit to Minnesota. LSU's a program that doesn't have a quarterback committed. So what happens with Cole Bergeron? Sounds like James Franklin's going to turn it up on quarterback Troy Hoon. He's an Elite 11 finalist out of California. That was a kid that was committed to James Franklin when he was at Penn State. But here's the thing. James Franklin understands talent acquisition. He is going to get that thing roaring there in Blacksburg. I actually was there for a game earlier this season. I think the recruiting grounds there at Virginia Tech are prime for the taking, right? Where they're located, you know, you can get into the DMV, you can go down into Charlotte, you can get up into Pittsburgh, you can go to Ohio. James Franklin's going to have an opportunity to get a ton of talent. And I think if you're another school in the ACC, if you're a Miami, if you're a Clemson, if you're a Florida State, I would be kind of concerned about this hire because I think that roster is quickly going to transform. And I also wouldn't be surprised, you know, if James Franklin gets some former Penn State players there to Virginia Tech.
On that note, I've been working with national analyst Blair Angulo on this one, but Troy Hoon commit, we fully expect him to land at Virginia Tech. I would not be surprised if that one gets done quickly. He's one of the top quarterbacks. He was an Elite 11 finalist. Top 247 wide receiver Davion Brown, one-time Penn State commit. Andrew Ivins just said, watch out for the Penn State guys. Do not be surprised if Virginia Tech makes a move there. And then the prize of this entire class is top 247 safety Matt Sieg. Now, look, this guy made it very clear to national analyst Brian Doan, wherever James Franklin lands, I'm going to visit, I'm going to consider. Notre Dame has all the buzz right now, fresh off an official visit, but do not sleep on Virginia Tech. They are absolutely in play for one of the nation's top safeties.
All right, Andrew Ivins and Tom Loy, appreciate you stopping by for this breaking news and more. Our colleagues out there from 247 Sports. And don't miss a moment. Subscribe to CBS Sports College Football on YouTube. We have full highlights, expert analysis, and everything that you need all season long. Just go ahead and scan that QR code to join us.